Stars were out in the NBA tonight. Karl-Anthony Towns, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Najee Marshall were hooping. But before any of that, Jimmy Butler back in Miami and continuing to not play very well in South Beach. A lot coming today on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday and welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night, where you get the latest and greatest from around the association. Awesome night in the league. Two top three teams in each conference suiting up. Karl Towns, amazing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, amazing. The Grizzly Stars were enough. So much fun hoops. And yet the star of the show was Jimmy Butler returning to Miami. We have a lot to dive into today. And thankfully, one of us was there. Tony East here, host of Locked On Pacers, and joining me as we do every single week here on Locked On NBA Game Night on Wednesdays from Locked On Heat in the building as Jimmy Butler triumphantly, just kidding, no triumph about it, returned to Miami. It's Wes Goldberg. Wes, take me to the Kaseya Center. Did I say that right? What happened?
First of all, yes, you said it right. Congrats. It was a highly anticipated game, but sometimes with these things, you don't know if it's going to live up to the hype. I don't know that the game itself lived up to the hype, but the game itself was also so secondary to everything that was going on, that everything was so raw between the Heat and Jimmy Butler, right? Like, this wasn't even Klay Thompson coming back to Golden State. Like, you had a whole offseason to kind of get over of that. It was a little bit different even than LeBron going back to Cleveland or Kevin Durant going back to OKC. Not to say that those things were like a cakewalk. Those things were different. But this was just everything was just ripped off. Like, the scar tissue hasn't even started to build up yet on this thing. And so I think everybody could feel that in the building. And in this game, I thought the Miami Heat harnessed that emotion and used it and kind of walked that razor's edge of, let's not get too high, but let's also kind of kick up the intensity here. And it had a little bit of a playoff atmosphere, I thought, for the Heat. Whereas Jimmy Butler, the Warriors were without Steph Curry, which is worth mentioning here. It's a really important part of what happened on the court, obviously. But it just felt like Jimmy Butler, instead of acknowledging the emotion and using it and trying to get it and kind of kick things up a notch the way that we've seen Jimmy Butler rise to the occasion before, it felt like he tried to push it all out and just kind of shut down emotionally. And then he kind of had like this laissez-faire game on the court. He just wasn't that effective. Moses Moody took more shots from him than him in this game. So that's essentially why the Warriors lost. But I did think it said a lot about the Miami Heat, who are coming off of a 10-game losing streak, beat the Charlotte Hornets over the weekend, and then they're able to bounce back and get they're probably the most important win of the season in terms of making a statement and playing for pride and playing for something. I think that there's nothing bigger than this game for the Heat. They rose to the occasion.
What do you make of Jimmy saying it's just another game and then actually playing like that? You know, everybody says that during their return games. I was in Sacramento when Tyrese Haliburton went back to Sacramento, and that's not like some big thing compared to this, but everybody says this, even though they don't mean it. Oh, it's just a game. And then they come out and you can tell by their spirit it's not just a game. And you were there, and I only can see the stat line, but it looks like Jimmy played like it was actually just a game.
It was just a game at Kaseya Center, which is how he plays at Kaseya Center. He just kind of is very passive, will stand in the corner, not really care. Like, that's what they are used to seeing lately. Look, I don't ever believe players when they say it's just another game. If you have to say it's just another game, it's probably not just another game. That's sort of my rule with that. But I also understand them when they say it. I get where they're coming from, because to me, it feels like they're always trying to talk themselves into it just being another game.
Exactly how I feel. Yes.
Right? And
they want to believe that, but they don't believe it.
No. And I asked Spoelstra about this after the game. I said, like, how do you acknowledge that there's a different kind of emotion of the night, but then kind of use it to your advantage? And he said that it's really hard because their emotions are there, but you don't want to like run so high on the emotions that you end up being out of control and not focusing on the game plan and things like that. But you also don't want to shut it out and just come out and not have that same, enthusiasm or energy or whatever, ferocity, whatever competitiveness that your opponent is going to have. And I think Jimmy Butler did just treat this as any other game, and that's not what the Warriors needed. The Warriors needed like a heroic Jimmy Butler to come back and vanquish his old team, and he just didn't do that.
Saw him do it against the Bucks in Golden State, right? I know he can lead that group to better than this, but I found it very fitting that the Heat star players who were with Jimmy for all those years were the guys who vanquished him.
Bam Adebayo
Today,
deserves such a shout out in this game too, because he took this thing so personally. He guarded. It's been a rough season for Bam for a lot of different reasons, but you just look at the stats and we could just start and end there if you want. But he picked up Jimmy from the start in this game. He was Jimmy's main defender. So he had that assignment all night. And then he outscored Jimmy Butler 27-11. I mean, he was the best player on the floor tonight. Nobody took this matchup more personally than Bam, right? He's like, okay, you don't think you can win with me? You want to go to Phoenix and try to win with Kevin Durant, and you end up going to Golden State, and you think you can win with Steph Curry. And you know that all these players see all this stuff that's out there, the quotes about all this stuff. I think Bam really wanted to make a statement, and I think he did that.
yeah, he needed a game like this.
Yeah.
I thought so in my head too, and it certainly happened. And it's interesting. Like, it's very easy for me to write this off for the Warriors without Steph, even though I did just mention they got a big win without him last week. But yeah, the Heat needed, like, you know this better than anybody. Like, they really needed, like, oh, thank God. I mean, they've had some. Not only did they lose 10 in a row, as you know, like, they've been so bad in fourth quarter. It's like the most painful way to lose all these games in a row. It's just like the psych disaster that comes with that is tough. So to have a game like this where all the attention is on you for all the wrong reasons, and you've been playing like crap for the whole month of March, and to just stomp a pretty good team regardless of Steph's availability,
Right.
and do it in a prideful way, I wonder, and you could speak more to this too, can this be a launching point for them? Because, like, they really need to make the playoffs, and they are far from that point right now.
Yeah, right now they're 10th in the play-in. I think they're a game out of the 9th place Bulls, and that's a big deal because I guess you get home court in the 9-10 matchup. Woo! Sound the alarms, like, get that ready. But no, you're right. Like, this might be a turning point. All the coaches and the players in Miami, they'll tell you that they've been sort of building towards this. They're back to their 2-game win streak now over Charlotte and the Steph Curry-less Golden State Warriors. But the fourth quarters has been an issue, and there was a moment in this game where it was at the end of the third quarter, but close enough. End of the third quarter, Golden State clawed back into the game. They were down 20, got to down 7, I think, at that point, with just under a minute left in the third quarter. And the Heat just get 2 straight relief buckets, right? Tyler Hero gets a nice floater, and then he finds Davion Mitchell in the corner for a 3-pointer. And you're like, oh, okay, that's different. And every time that the Warriors would claw back into this thing, and the Heat might go 2 or 3 possessions, just empty possessions, they would get that needed relief bucket. And you know how important those are, Tony. It's like if you go like 3 straight minutes without a bucket, without any points, it just has like this deflating thing that just impacts your entire team. And that was basically what these late game collapses had been for Miami. They would just go these long spurts without being able to score. And in this game, they got those relief buckets. They were able to maintain as much momentum as that they needed to get this win. Can it be a launching point? They think so. Into what? I don't know. To me, that's almost beside the point here. But this is a team that finally showed some pride, and I think that's what was really missing. And now that they have that, I think now they can start building on this and say, all right, this thing is in the rearview mirror now with the Jimmy Butler stuff. What are we really building here? Because this whole thing is sort of this amorphous ball of clay. What are we trying to shape that as? And I think they could start focusing on that a little bit more.
Yeah, in those moments where big leads disappear fast, every player's like, well, our scheme's not working, so I should do this thing instead. And like that doesn't help anybody, and it just gets out of control. Good on Hero for being both the setup man and just keeping it all together. I can't believe we got 9 minutes without talking about Khalil Ware's bucket of the season contender, Wes. Holy smokes.
That was crazy. So he goes up, loses the ball midair, and you see this 100 times where a big man will go up with the ball and somebody will knock it out because he has it like down at his hip or something, and the ball just goes out of bounds, and then you get the ball back and you try again. But the ball like flies out of his hands, and then he just grabs it, whips it over his head. It goes in. I'm flabbergasted on Media Row. I'm like, did that just go in? I'm starting to think, like, I got flashbacks of like Dwayne Wade's most circus shots. I'm like, what is happening right now? And then he was like we talked with the players after about it. He's like, oh yeah, like Tyler Hero was like, he would tell you he just does that all the time. I was like, nobody does that all the time. That was wild. What a fun bucket that was.
Well, good for the fans of Miami that the Jimmy Butler return game was one of the few things that have gone their way since the trade. Speaking of teams that have had things go their way, the Thunder now have 60 wins already. It's unbelievable. We have more coming up on them. Before hopping over to OKC, let's talk about game time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and even maybe celebrity signings courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you the best deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. You can check the Game Time app and see amazing deals on some huge upcoming matchups in the NBA. And the Game Time Picks feature highlights super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Back here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen's got to be Locked On Heat for all the insights from the game we just described, but in much more detail from South Beach. Let's go all the way across the USA to Sacramento, California, where the Thunder beat the Kings in a game that is hilarious. It looks like a 16-point Thunder win. The Thunder dominated this game. They won the first, second, and fourth quarters by a combined 30 points. And in the third quarter, the Kings were ungodly hot from three. They scored 39. Keegan Murray sets his career high in three-pointers made. Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder with more on the 60-win OKC Thunder.
60 for the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was impressive to go on the road and win your 11th straight road game, a franchise record for the Thunder. Also got their second 60-win season, matching a franchise best mark for OKC. With one more win, they, of course, surpass it. And the Thunder take care of business against the Kings, who had an excellent third quarter, cutting a 23-point lead within single digits with their excellent three-point shooting in that frame. But ultimately, the Thunder still pull away and get a win with their resilient approach. No J-Dub in this game. Chet comes back, but you're without Wiggins and Cason Wallace. So you're missing three key rotational pieces and still beat a team fighting for their postseason lives. However meekly the Kings are doing it. But SGA figures it out, getting reffed up all night long. Not his best game by any stretch, but still gets over 30 points on the night. And you saw the Thunder really battle through some lack of foul calls on their end of the floor. But ultimately, it was OKC that withstood the storm and put their foot down to get this win. We'll have it all on Locked On Thunder for you.
Boo-hoo, Rylan. The Thunder don't get any whistles. Wes, they have 60 wins. Are the Thunder the favorites?
Well, considering that Jason Tatum just rolled his ankle, maybe they are. I have no reason to think that they're not. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win MVP, probably. I don't know if that means he's better than Jokic, but he's in that conversation now, and they just have so many guys, dude. Like Caruso and Isaiah Joe combine off the bench in this game. 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists.
Joe hit some nasty shots in this game, too.
They just, I always use the word terrifying with them because it's like as soon as you think you've got one thing bottled up, there's just 100 other things now that you have to deal with and worry about. And they just have so much stuff. And this defense to me, it's the best defense in the league. Whatever. I don't even know if they're first in defensive rating. They're just the one defense I don't want to play anymore. And they were doing it at the beginning of the year by just taking the ball away from you. And now with playing this like Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren combined lineup, they're doing it in other ways too. Sacramento went 10 of 27 in the paint in this game. That's like making no shots in the paint. That's an insane number. Thank God for Keegan Murray making 9 3-pointers, or else Sacramento never would have been like fake in this game. But this team just has so many different ways to beat you. And I think they have probably more ways to beat you than the other two teams that we talk about in this favorites conversation, Cleveland and Boston, right? Like we know what those teams want to do to beat you. Oklahoma City, we know what they basically want to do, but if that first thing doesn't work, they have other things that they can get to.
Rough night for Sabonis, which impacts that paint scoring. And, man, I'd go home sad listening to my favorite album if I thought I defended well against OKC and like Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins lights me up. Second best team in the West won. The score says they won. They do not feel good about it. Jackson Gatlin, Locked On Rockets, with more on the Rockets beating the Hawks.
Boyd collapsing against the Atlanta Hawks and go on to win 121-114. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And man, this was a game that the Rockets were largely in control of. They led by as many as 25 in this one until the Hawks ripped off a 20-4 run to start the fourth quarter. Ime Udoka had to break the glass in case of emergency and go back to Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet much earlier than he anticipated in the fourth quarter. And then once Atlanta cut it to a 98-94 score with the Rockets just leading by 4 points, Jalen Green had a couple of back-to-back tough buckets to give the Rockets a little bit of breathing room, and then Jabari Smith Jr. came up big with a pair of back-to-back clutch three-pointers to balloon the lead back out to 11. The Rockets did have a brief scare at the end, though. They turned the ball over to Dyson Daniels, who then got it to George Niang, who then knocked down a clutch three with just under 30 seconds left, and it cut it to a one-possession game, but they played the free throw battle. They were able to go on and hold on for the win, and in a game where you do the little things, where you knock down your free throws, 26 of 29 free throw shooting for the worst free throw shooting team in the NBA, when you get offensive rebounds, when you get second chance opportunities, and when you build a 25-point lead the way that the Rockets did in this game, you can afford a stretch of bad basketball and still come away with a win.
Rockets are pretty good when their backcourt goes for 50 points. Wes, any takeaways from this one?
If every month were March, Jalen Green would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's insane. He loves March, dude. Like, as soon as nobody's watching the NBA, he starts balling out. 3 straight 30-plus point games. He's got 26 or more in 6 of his last 7 games. This is March. This is Jalen Green's time. And you know what?
Well, they need that to be his time in the playoffs because they're going to struggle to score, right? It's going to be this blueprint, or it's going to be Rockets. You guys okay?
When the Rockets look unbeatable, it's when Jalen Green is playing like this, because he's the one guy who can kind of create his own shot in the half court, right, consistently. And so you're absolutely right, Tony. Like, if he's doing this in the playoffs, then maybe they actually have it, because nobody's going to pick them in a first round series no matter who they play. But if he's doing this, why not?
Remember when everybody pretended the Cavs were slumping because they lost 3 in a row? That was stupid. They go into Portland and win by 11 without Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland was awesome in the closer with 27. I just can't get over, like, you went on the West Coast and had like a small malaise. Can we stop overreacting to like very short struggles from very good teams? They're going to be fine. The Cavs
especially
are awesome.
When they went on a 15-game win streak
right before that,
or 16 games or whatever it was. It was like, and they've done it multiple times this year. I give them a break. We're like, what's wrong with the Cavs? Number one, Donovan Mitchell didn't play in all those games. Evan Mobley missed one of those games, and they just came off of a huge win streak, and now it's March. So excuse me for taking my foot off the gas for a second. If I'm the Cavaliers, it's fine.
I'm a little gutted for the Blazers, who had a fun little second there where I thought, could they actually make the play-in? Is this actually possible for them?
Shaedon Sharp, one of the best dunks of the year in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, he straight up David Blaine levitated.
He does. They got within like 2 or 3 of them. They're still within 3, but now with the Suns playing real ball and Anthony Davis back, it's probably too much for them. But man, they have been legitimately a good team since early December-ish, and since Scoot took the training wheels off. They played okay in this game. They couldn't buy a 3, but the Cavs are really good, man. I have no qualms with that.
Donovan Clingan is a player. Like, nobody's watching Portland anymore. He's really good.
Yeah. He's already there. Like, the pitch for him was this, right? He could rim protect, he could finish, he could rebound. Hey, guess what? He did all of that in this game. Third in the East, the Knicks. No Brunson. They're playing the Mavs with no Anthony Davis, who did return last night. It was the Karl-Anthony Towns show. 2 triple-doubles for the Knicks in one game. I have a number of insane stats I can throw you from this one because I watch this one end-to-end, and Najee Marshall's a big part of it. But this is the first game ever, I believe, where the Knicks had 2 players get a triple-double in the same game. Cat with 26, 12, and 11, and Josh Hart with also 12 and 11, but he only had 16 points. Campaign played really well on defense as a starter. They had 15 assists in the first quarter, which tied a franchise record. Without Brunson, they were really moving the ball. I thought Cat, especially with the 11 assists, stood out in that way. 35 combined assists at halftime. The Mavs were shooting 71% at that point and losing. The Knicks actually found some juice on offense, to their credit. And then MSG flashes my favorite graphic of the game. Najee Marshall with 13 made shots in the first half. Guess the other 3 players who have made 13 shots and a half against the New York Knicks ever, Wes.
Oh, ever? Jesus.
Ever.
I don't know. Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan is one of them.
Shaq?
Shaq is not one of them. The crew that Najee Marshall joined tonight with his first half is Luka Doncic, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. He was balling, and Nick Angstadt
Makes
with
sense.
more on the hooping. Najee Marshall.
The knife is that dude. 38 points for him. A game high for Najee Marshall. A career high for Najee Marshall. He was absolutely dealing against the New York Knicks and the Mavs loss. 17 of 25 from the field. He is just elite. Probably better than some all-NBA players. At the little mid-range shot where he can just get close to the rim, get somebody on his hip, that fly by him, and then all of a sudden he stops, pulls up, hits the little floater. He was absolutely elite at that. 38 points. Only one made three for Najee Marshall. Only 11 players have done that in the NBA this season. Not many times. Elite company for Najee. The Mavericks, for the rest of them, absolutely struggled in this game. There was just no offense in the third quarter. They only scored 16 points. That's when they really the game just really got away from them. They were playing pretty close in the first half. It was a tie game at halftime. Brandon Williams also should be mentioned, 22 points for him on his two-way contract. He only has a couple of games left. Kessler Edwards, this was the last game for him on the two-way contract for the Mavericks. And so Kessler Edwards finishes his two-way contract with the Mavericks, and we'll see around April 10th if he's going to be signed again.
Poor Mavs. Can they feel the
I
tamer?
love Nick just trying to find things to get excited about. Najee Marshall is better at that little mid-range floater than some all-NBA players. It's like, okay, cool. He's not better at that than Luka.
He was in this game. He is not.
The most insane part of the Najee thing is he made 17 shots in this game, had 28 points by halftime. This whole thing, 30-plus points. He had one made three-pointer the entire game, and he only had three of his points off of free throws. So he did this on 16 made two-pointers in this game. I mean, that's straight-up Giannis stuff. Do that. It might say a little bit more about the Knicks defense than it does about how awesome Najee Marshall is and how close he is to being in the conversation with Giannis. But I don't want to take anything away from him because Mavericks fans need something to be excited about.
Obviously, this is the peak, although he had 34-point game against Phoenix.
He's been good lately.
Yeah,
yes.
He's averaging 22.2 points and 7.9 rebounds per game entering today.
I think I saw a stat, and I don't know how real this is because it was just in a tweet, so whatever, but he's got at least 15 points in every game since Kyrie went down, in every game that he's played.
A success of the two-way contract, man. He's playing good. Kai Jones is a player, man. He actually is doing good stuff for the Mavs. So is Brandon.
He had to shave his head, and that was it.
Yeah.
He went off from there.
I feel bad that we ducked around the Knicks. Any win they get without
Yeah.
Brunson's huge. They might have, like,
so
every
good
time
in
they
this
win
game,
these games,
man.
they get this much closer to 3.
There's situations where Karl-Anthony Towns can be New York's best player.
Great.
And that might be, even when Jalen Brunson's out there, and that might be like their best case scenario. Because when he's, like, the 11 assists is huge. He's never been better offensively. I know that he's not great defensively and he still gets attacked, but I feel like we need to appreciate he's taken a leap into a more well-rounded offensive player this year. He had this assist, basically bailed out a possession, that he threw it over the top of the defense, basically from the logo to a streaking Josh Hart down the paint. And it's just like that stuff is really hard to do. Not everybody can do that. And if he's doing that, maybe not 11 assists consistently, like I'm not expecting him to be Jokic here, but if he's tapping into that part of his game more consistently, that's huge for them.
35 points for OG Anunoby, who we have to slip that in because that's a lot of points.
He's been really good
the
lately.
Pistons won a game without Cade. Wait, 2 in a row? What? Let's go to Detroit. We got to talk about that just a second here on Lockdown NBA Game Night. Back here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Hop on over to Locked On Bucks next. Dame Lillard. The worst, the scariest injury, as you in Heatland know well. Blood clotting. He's out indefinitely. We'll get more on that later from Locked On Bucks on this show as well. Let's go to Detroit, where the Pistons win without Cade 2 in a row, albeit against the Spurs and Pelicans, who have, let's say, maybe not to the most pure winning intentions. Marcus Sasser balling in this one with 27. Does it mean anything to you that the Pistons can win without Cade, or is this just playing against a bunch of garbage?
Of course it does. This is a team that won, 17 games last year? 14 games last year? It means anything anytime this team wins anyway, no matter what. Like, it means something. Like, the Detroit Pistons are the feel-good team of the season, and the fact that they keep stacking up wins, they're not in a position to be like, oh, well, poo-poo, this one was against this team that's tanking. No, these wins matter. These wins matter. You mentioned Sasser there. Asar Thompson was great in this game, I thought. Overall, they're getting the contributions from up and down the roster. It wasn't even a great Malik Beasley game, but this team has good players. And I keep hearing a lot like, oh, the Pistons are just Cade Cunningham and a bunch of other guys. I'm like, do not disrespect Tobias Harris anymore. Like, that's enough. He's been really good for them this year, and they've got some good players on that roster, and Bickerstaff is obviously coaching them up well.
So without Cade, if you ask me, like, how would the Pistons score a lot of points and win? I would say, oh, maybe Dennis Schroeder played well. No, he was 2 for 6 or 7 points. Oh, maybe Malik Beasley made a bunch of threes. No, he was 2 for 7 from deep. Oh, maybe Tobias Harris went crazy. Yeah, he had 15, but he was 4 for 10 from the field. Sar Thompson hooped, and the Pistons went 15 at 31 from deep without their best shot creator. That's impressive stuff. The Spurs, without Fox and Wemby, pack it up. Go over the draft pick, guys.
Yeah, Mamu can't just keep lifting this team. He needs some help.
Chris Paul, star stat line, 3 points, 3 assists for the legend in Detroit. Let's go to Utah, where the Jazz were crushing in the first half, up double digits on the Grizzlies. And I thought, man, the Grizzlies star players are not playing very well in this game. And then I switched to Kings Thunder to not see the rest. And then apparently the Grizzlies star players were terrific the rest of the way. Jaren Jackson with 19 points, 21 and 6 for Desmond Bane, and Scottie Pippen Jr. with a double-double. David Locke of Locked On Jazz was there to see it.
Jazz started the night brilliantly. They led the first quarter against Memphis 35-28. They came out, hit 7 of their first 12 from 3. Kept the hot shooting going through halftime and led 65-54, hitting 13 of 24 from 3. In fact, with 4 minutes left in the second quarter, the Utah Jazz led this game by 12. The next 28 minutes were a totally different story as the Grizzlies outscored the Utah Jazz 93-42.
Oof.
The best news of the day for the Utah Jazz, however, though, is that point guard Isaiah Collier, who has been a non-shooter, not he's not making them, just not shooting, hit 4 of 8 from 3 tonight on his way to 21 points. If Isaiah Collier, with the speed and tenacity that he's shown as a rookie, can continue make some three-point shots, the Jazz may have found something at the 29th pick. And the 32nd pick of the draft, Kyle Filipowski had another great shooting game, 2 of 3 from 3, and now is right up there as the number 1 shooter from 3 in the NBA since February 1st, knocking on the door for the best shooter by he and DeAndre Hunter going back and forth on that title, depending on how Hunter finishes tonight. Jazz lose it by 37 as they get blitzkrieged in the second half by Memphis.
The Jazz have so many young players that I'd be like psyched if they were the 3rd or 4th best young player in a core and not as high in the hierarchy as they are. What do you make of the Grizzlies, especially without Brandon Clark? Like, they just kind of feel like, I know John Morant didn't play. They just always feel like, man, I wish they were a little better.
Yeah, and then you turn around and you're like, is this the deepest team in the league, or are they like or are they the most shallow team in the league?
I'm picking on them, but they won by 37.
They had 65 bench points in this game.
Golly. Yeah,
I have no idea what to think of the Grizzlies. They're very much
I don't
like
either.
I don't trust John Morant to play 3 games in a week. You know, I have no idea what to make of this team. I know that when they're healthy, they're really good.
I was gonna say they're clearly good. I can't. Something's in the way of me being like, yeah, they could win 2 rounds. Like, I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
Well, they looked great today, as did the Orlando Magic, until they didn't for a little second there, as they won anyway. Philip Rossman-Reich of Locked On Magic with more on a inspiring, probably not, Magic win over the Hornets.
Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic, as the Orlando Magic survived the Charlotte Hornets 111-104 to get a critical win. I'm out of words for Paolo Banchero. He had 32 points in this game. He's the first Magic player since Dwight Howard in 2011 to have 4 straight games of 30-plus points. He's the 4th player in Magic history to accomplish that feat. And the Magic are on a 3-game winning streak. They're doing a lot of things really, really well, but this game came down to the clutch and came down to big plays. And it wasn't just the big plays that Paolo Banchero made or the free throws that Franz Wagner made down the stretch. It was the plays from some of the players who've struggled the most for the Orlando Magic that won them this game. It was Gary Harris digging out an offensive rebound and finding Paolo Banchero for a short jumper that gave the Magic a brief lead. It was Anthony Black with a putback dunk that was the go-ahead basket that gave the Magic the lead for good. It was Wendell Carter stepping out and defending and stopping LaMelo Ball from even getting a three-point attempt that set up Franz Wagner to put the Magic up by 4 late in the game. These are players who have struggled all season for the Magic, players who have been blamed for so many of the Magic's problems this year, and they are the players that delivered this crucial win. Yes, it's just Charlotte. I don't want to hide from that. But the Magic need every win they can get in their race for 7th and their race for the Southeast Division crown. The Magic had these players step up in a big way, and the Magic are rolling once again.
I can't stand the Southeast Division, as you know all too well.
Me neither.
It's very sad this year.
Philip's right. He had a great rundown of the game there. But what my big takeaway is when you have Paolo and Franz playing the way that they're playing, this was almost a lost season for the Magic, where I thought this whole year was basically just like, okay, let's just see how good Paolo and Franz are, and then we'll just sort of figure it out from there. Do they need a true point guard to take away the ball handling responsibilities? Do they just need more spacing around them? Can they be the... And I thought that this was all going to be lost because of oblique injuries or abdominal injuries. Which one was it? Obliques. Yeah. But they've really put together a nice little stretch here of a sample size. And with Paolo playing the way he's playing, like, yeah, the 32 points is great. I love the 6 assists from him. You know, like just being able to play, make, and dish and kind of be in control of stuff going on the court. That's the most important thing for Orlando from this game and going forward.
Still my fear for Orlando that they only have 22 assists. Like their ball movement's just not awesome, but they will take 3. They're like Detroit land right now. I mean, it's different because Detroit was awful last year, but like the Magic getting 3 wins in a row, I don't care if it's against the Wizards, Lakers, and Hornets. They need it really bad. LaMelo Ball was very good. No one else in the Hornets did anything in this game, which is perfect for the Hornets. They want him to be good and they want to lose. So
that's exactly what LaMelo Ball wants. I'll do it all. You all don't do anything.
Magic, though, good time to round into form, playing around the corner. And yes, amazingly, the 35-38 Magic still somehow can sniff a division crown. There was no Bucks game today, but always scary when you see the blood clot press release come through. Damian Lillard out indefinitely. Sam Amick saying he could return this season, so perhaps a more minor version of this injury. Camille Davis from Locked On Bucks with more on Dame, missing some time.
Catch a break. They cannot catch an injury break. Damian Lillard is out indefinitely with a blood clot in his right calf. This is just, first and foremost, wishing the best for Dame as he continues to get healthy from this blood clot, which can be very dangerous. His health is more important than basketball. And from Sam Amick's reporting, it sounds as if the Bucks are optimistic that he could return this season still. But, man, how the Bucks make it to the playoffs without Dame when this team has now been constructed to be built around Giannis and Dame, that's why the Bucks made the trades at the trade deadline, to try to maximize the duo of Giannis and Dame and put players around them that could be versatile and help with the defense and just help out in that way. And now Giannis is the lone shot creator, the lone scoring option for the Milwaukee Bucks while Dame continues to recover from this blood clot. But like I said, just unfortunate injury luck. Since the Bucks won their title in 2021, they have not had good injury luck. 22, Chris Middleton tears his MCL in his knee in the first round series. Bucks lose in the second round. The following year, Giannis injures his back in the first game against the Miami Heat. He tries to return, but he's not the same player. The Bucks lose in the first round against the Heat. Last year, Giannis gets injures his calf, and with like 3 games to go in the regular season. He misses the first round playoff series against the Pacers, and the Bucks lose that as well. Since they won a title, 3 playoffs where injuries have just screwed them over, and another year here where we'll have to see how this Dame injury plays out for him. Just unfortunate.
Hoping the reporting is correct and he can come back, because that one's a scary one, right? We've seen it with guys. Star Thompson came back this season from it. Wemby currently out with it, but it's just a tough one to manage, right? You just never know.
Yeah, it's always scary, and you know, people will tell you, well, if it's in the lower extremities, it's a little bit better. At least they didn't catch it until it went up to like the lungs, where it went with Chris Bosh, right? And that was obviously career ending. So you do hope that everybody is right in their optimism and that Damian Lillard will be back. But you know what? Camille's right. Like the injury luck in Milwaukee. I mean, man, when they won the championship in 2021, you were like, yeah, Giannis, back-to-back MVPs. Like, this is what we're doing now. And they just have not been able to get back to that level again. Now you've got the Damian Lillard stuff, which is obviously a big blow. This is not a team that, by the way, can afford to slip in the standings. They're 5th right now. They're tied essentially in the standings with Detroit. There's a chance that Milwaukee, a team that was at what point 3rd in the Eastern Conference and was more recently fighting for 4th, could drop all the way down to 6th and be in a 3-6 matchup with New York. I don't love that matchup for them. And so, yeah, it's really tough with everything that's happened with Giannis and now with Damian Lillard. You don't really know what his future is going to look like, and it might just be another postseason that's over before it even begins for them.
Yeah, horrible to have it happen 3 years in a row. And horrible for Dame, who if they get no playoff runs with Dame and Giannis, that sucks. What can you say? That sucks.
He got hurt in like the third to last game of last season, right?
Yep.
And then wasn't available for the Pacers in that first round. It's just he used to be a guy that was always playing 80 games. He's only played 67 or more games once, basically since the title year. Like he's kind of an injury guy now, and that's kind of scary.
Timeline will be
Giannis I'm talking
critical,
about,
not
right
only
there.
because having Damian Lillard is better than not having Damian Lillard for the Bucks, but also Wes, the last two games of the Bucks regular season are both against the Detroit Pistons. So that battle for 5-6 could be fascinating if the Bucks can sneak through enough wins. Yes, thank you NBA scheduling gods for making it life very complicated for everybody fighting for 3 through 6. Hoping the best for Dame. Check out Locked On Bucks for more. Tomorrow, more Locked On NBA Game Night with the latest and greatest around the association. Thank y'all for listening today. See you then.